Welcome back, another episode. The goal of Amazon's streaming service, Prime Video, is to produce a fantasy series with the same level of popularity as the former Game of Thrones. This is the service's one and only genuine destiny. Is it going to win? With House of the Dragon, HBO's formidable rival, which has the significant benefit of being a precursor to Thrones, casting a long shadow, Amazon has its own massive, iron-spiked prequel. You can notice the enormous production budget for The Lord of the Rings of Power in every scene on screen. And for Season 2, it's back. Usually, the goal is to please fantasy fans while going beyond the boundaries of the genre, because it appealed to both viewers who would typically shun epic prophecies, mythical beasts, and unexpected disembowelments in kingdoms with exotic made-up names. Game of Thrones became the most popular TV series. The Wheel of Time, Prime Video's other major fantasy weapon. Yes, Amazon is that anxious to win over viewers that it has an extravagantly costly backup fantasy series in case the primary one bombs. Hasn't been able to close this gap, but the Rings of Power is a little different. Because the Lord of the Rings franchise is so successful, it is believed that there is no crossover to be accomplished between its supporters and a general audience. As a result, Season 1 featured a lot of nods and foreshadowing, including the introduction of younger iterations of well-known characters. Characters we strongly believe to be younger iterations of Rings mainstays despite their current names, and locations and populations that are similarly poised to transition into the familiar. Beneath it all was the matter of Sauron's identity. We were repeating throughout the first season, it's him, because the antagonist of the tale subtly assumed several shapes. Or is that him? Then we discovered who it was, but not all of the characters knew, leaving us with the question of where Sauron is and who he is deceiving. The main issue with the Rings of Power is that it is mostly a lore-based prequel rather than a drama. However, the scenes showcasing the schemes of a skilled manipulator help the film get over this obstacle, at least temporarily. Characters frequently discuss events with one another in a humorously ominous manner that may lead casual viewers to believe that fantasy literature isn't for them. They discuss what has occurred, what will happen, or what absolutely must not happen because if it does, Middle-earth will be doomed. The elves' vocal affectation, where they theatrically roll their Rs solely for proper nouns, doesn't help the Rings of Power on the latter issue. For example, the performers sound like Taggart proclaiming a murder whenever the word Mordor is mentioned. But there are other sugarcoats, the most evident of which is the production quality of the program. In the event of a big spider attack, the movement and details of its hideous, enormous spider face are credible. If a group of festering orcs is needed, hundreds of them exist, and they realistically swarm with dirt and decay. While the battle scenes, which the 3 comeback episodes could use a few more of, whirl and splat with aplomb, the magnificent rendering of waterfalls, volcanoes, magical trees you shouldn't stand too close to, and terrible, nuclear-like explosions is also impressive. If you don't mind slightly cartoonish accents from British and Australian performers, the proto-Hobbit Harfoots, who sound dubiously Irish, are cute. The dwarfs, who have Scottish ancestry, are funny with clever line reading, such as stubborn as a root-bound parsnip. They relieve some of the pressure on the main group, the elves, who are preoccupied with the important task of protecting the 3 titular rings, which are each endowed with the mystical power of Mithril, an uncommon ore. The men are generally a stodgy morass of ridiculous side-swept hairstyles and pretentious pontificating, but Morfydd Clark leads them well as the intense Galadriel, whose growing warrior presence is counterbalanced by the uncertainty and shame of having been duped by Sauron appearing in fair form. That is, when he was hot and she wanted to boff him, in Season 1. She doesn't appear certain when people ask if she has overcome her desire for evil, while there is still some rewarding drama to be had when Sauron, blusterily declares to someone we know isn't the Lord of the Rings that the world will revere you, the Lord of the Rings. Because Sauron himself shall become the Lord of the Rings, as he was in the books and films of the Lord of the Rings, we're reminded of the Rings of Power's weakness, which is that it's a little too Lord of the Rings style. It will find it difficult to take over the planet while that is the case. For more videos, subscribe.